Hello, this is Updata with Caleb Ash and special guest Dirk Dillionare, and we're here to talk to you about movies and amongst other things, whatever Brian wants to talk about.
Sounds good.
Sounds good? Alright, here he is. It's all on you. I'm just playing. So, we were talking about video games a second ago, and what were the two ones you mentioned?
GTA Online and Overwatch.
Okay, so those are like your main games.
That is correct.
Okay.
I feel like I've definitely got my money's worth out of GTA 5 for sure.
Oh, definitely. You always told me to get on and...
Yep.
Yeah, for a while now.
Especially because I started playing it on PlayStation 3 and then transitioned over to PlayStation 4, and I still pick it up and play it on occasion.
Yeah. So why are those like your go-to games? Separate from other games.
I mean, GTA 5, again, like you get a lot of free content for the DLC. I mean, the DLC free content, which you're not having to constantly buy loot boxes or stuff like that. I mean, it's just nice having free content, and it keeps changing. So even if it gets a little bit repetitive, you can hop on every once in a while, and then, you know, you build up your bank account and just kind of live almost like an alternative life in the game, essentially.
So, but... It's what bothers me is it became like once they added all like the shark cars, you know what I'm talking about? It became more like pay to
play. Yeah. I mean, I do understand that. I mean, obviously, some people don't have, you know, hours on end to go play the game, but I mean, there's opportunities to get in the game and make the money you want to make and be able to buy the stuff. It takes a lot longer. You have to be a little bit more dedicated, but. You know, I mean, it's like real life. You have to work for things you want. You shouldn't just get free stuff. So, I mean, and if you do want it, you know, pay real money. But you know, when a car costs, you know, $35 in real money versus, you know, putting in probably 10 hours of gameplay, I'd much rather put in 10 hours of gameplay over the course of a week.
Well, yeah, because you're having fun while you're earning it.
Exactly. I want to use my real money that I make in the real world on real things, like paying car notes of real cars, not a video game car.
So what about this other game, though?
Overwatch?
Yeah, I've never played it, so just fill me in.
It's a first-person shooter team-based game, so... essentially, when you first start, everybody has access to all the same characters. You don't have to upgrade the guns. I mean, you can get different skins and unlock them with loot boxes. That's how they make their money, is people buying loot boxes, which unlocks, you know, the different voice lines and skins and this, that, the other. But then they have multiple seasons, and you get on each season, and you do 10 placement games, and then you get your rank, and then you just keep playing, and you try to increase your rank.
So season, like...
They do, like, basically, like, they'll have a period of time where you'll play ranked games, and then you'll have a season ranking at the end of the season.
Oh,
I see. And you get competitive points, which unlock gold guns, essentially. You know, you want to show off that you're a skilled player at different characters. Yeah. So, but then they just created the Overwatch League, which has teams from all over the city that are, you know, legit teams that are sponsored, and they all play each other, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can watch it, I think, on either the game or Twitch. Is it Twitch?
Yeah, the gaming streaming website.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of movies coming out.
Okay.
What ones are you probably more excited for?
There's a movie coming out called Annihilation, and I mean,
with that girl from Black. What's it called?
I don't remember who exactly was in it. I just remember the trailer looking pretty badass.
Okay. I think it was that Black Swan. She played in Black Swan.
Oh, Natalie Portman?
Yeah, I think that was her. I always get her confused.
Or was it Mila Kunis?
No, it wasn't Mila Kunis.
Okay, so it's probably Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that looked good. I randomly want to see Rampage, even though I think that movie is going to be complete trash. The one with Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, with the remake of that old game.
Video game.
Yeah. I used to play that.
Did you?
I was like excited to see it, kind of.
I mean, it looks alright. I think it's gonna be crappy, but I still am behind the times a little bit. Haven't seen Jumanji. I definitely want to see Jumanji. I think it's gonna be pretty stupid. But
I saw it. It was all right. It wasn't there was a lot of hype around it.
Okay, then
it's
that means I'm
not as good. Yeah, you're pretty.
I'm pretty jaded when it comes to overhyped movies.
Yeah.
By the way, Wonder Woman so overhyped, and no, I'm not a sexist. It's just a really, really bad movie, and I tell people it's a bad movie.
All I heard was good things about it.
Man, okay, this is the thing. So people. I use this comparison. People hated Suicide Squad because the villain was this like over animated, crazy like warrior type person, right? Well, same thing in Wonder Woman. So why do you give it a pass in Wonder Woman? And like just the whole movie was poorly acted, poorly written. It just was not a good movie. Now, again, it's just not my cup of tea. Doesn't mean somebody else can't like it, you know. But it wasn't for me. So.
You brought up Suicide Squad. I did not like Suicide Squad.
I mean, a lot of people didn't. I thought that there were things in Suicide Squad that really had a lot of potential and looked, you know, pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But I think that a lot of people were disappointed that the Joker wasn't the main villain in that thing. But I knew going into that movie that it wasn't. Yeah. Doesn't take away from the fact that the actual villain was terrible. But again,
it just would have made more sense to me if they took it. And Joker was the only villain. Like, if you wanted to add a little more, like, here and there, like side villains. Right. But it would have made the most sense because he could have been... The storyline could have been he was trying to get Harley out of that.
Right, of course. I mean, David Ayer, the director, even admitted that was his one of his number one mistakes was not making the Joker the main villain. Yeah. But, you know, it's... Again, you know... They're counterparts, like they're the opposite ends of the spectrum, but they're so much alike in the same sense. Mm-hmm. But you know, it's been done so many times, like the Joker being the main villain.
You wanted to try something different,
exactly. And with it being Suicide Squad and not a Batman movie, even though Harley Quinn was a integral part to the storyline. It's still, I was okay with it being a side story. I think they should have picked a better main villain, but I was okay with it being, kind of on the side. Yeah. Hopefully he does a better job with Sirens of Gotham, but I think that could potentially suck too.
Yeah, I'm not excited for that one. Did you hear that Ben Affleck's like ready to get rid of Batman?
I'm sure he is because I think he realizes he's a terrible Batman.
You think so? I thought he was all right.
He's a good Bruce Wayne because he's a dick in real life.
Yeah.
But he's a terrible Batman.
You think so?
Yeah, he's worse than Val Kilmer and George Clooney. Oh. And those are both not that good of Batman. So Michael Keaton, in my opinion, best Batman. I think Christian Bale was the best both Batman or he was the Dark Knight, which is more based off the graphic novel than the comic. But Michael Keaton was I think he was a really good Batman. Christian Bale played the whole, Bruce Wayne, Dark Knight character well on both sides. I think he probably did the best job playing both sides. But yeah, Ben Affleck, I mean, he's just not suited for it in my opinion. I mean, Justice League was really bad. Really, I watched it and I don't remember anything I watched after I finished it. I mean, that's just again me being honest. I'm a little harsh on movies, but
definitely. Every time I get really excited about a movie, I do my best not to tell you about it.
Yeah, you should probably.
You will shit all over it.
Here's the thing: if I go into a movie with low expectations, I can usually be like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna take this for what it is. It's when people overhype these horrible blockbuster movies that I'm just like, man, I don't know what y'all are seeing, but so this is my thing. I've asked a lot of people this question: are people's standards lowering because of what Hollywood's putting out, or is Hollywood lowering their standards because society is becoming less intelligent?
I think it's kind of like a cooperative relationship thing.
I would probably agree with that. So a lot of people, I would say, that used to go into films and stuff and really pick them apart analytically and just really look for what makes a good movie overall, a good cinematic masterpiece or whatever. They're just not looking for those same things. So because Hollywood is trying to make these movies that are just big budget, that they know will make a lot of money, like because it has, you know, big star power and a whole bunch of explosions and just cheesy shit, you know, overly used elements, and they just oversaturate the market with that. I just have a problem with that because I remember like movies being better than that.
But
like,
do you ever go back to a movie and see that it wasn't as good as you thought?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. But I think that there are like true, you know, like, you know, when you go back and watch like something like Schindler's List, something that's like just really well done and just, you know, it's captivating and moving, or something like Shawshank Redemption. I've seen that movie probably like 12 or 13 times, and it's still good every single time I've seen it. You know, but then there'll be movies that I'll go back and be like, I remember this being good, but then it's just not what I remembered it, you know?
Yeah.
But I still think that the quality of the good movies are still better than some of the movies that are coming out now.
Yeah.
You know, I think Hollywood has just adjusted, people have adjusted, and it's just created a cyclical process of being shitty.
I'm with you on that, but what I think is, I'm just going to maintain that I feel like most people are dumb.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. And I think that most people are trying to escape the real world when they go see a movie.
Yeah.
So they're not really trying to look at it for all the aspects like that maybe the director, the producer, or the writer were going for when they were making that movie.
There's a certain standard, but
of course
they're just going there to be entertained.
Again,
get away from everything.
That's why I have no problem with what some of these movies are trying to do. But when I go and people are like, this is the greatest movie ever.
Oh, I see.
And you go and see
your point
it,
of view
and
now.
you're just like, what are you talking about? Like, why did you tell me that this movie was so great and it's borderline on what? Like, now I'm picking it apart because you've overhyped it.
Yeah.
As where if you would have just been, hey, just go check it out and see how it is and stuff. Again, like, Hollywood has figured out a recipe for movies to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like the big flops don't happen as much, like John Carter, for example. I didn't think that was a terrible movie, but they marketed it poorly. It was a really weird concept and stuff. They picked like basically a no-name actor at the time to be the star character. And so I feel like Disney's been like, for all the hits they have, they've had the most amount of like flops in the recent years.
I think it's because they own everything.
Yeah, that's true too.
So they're gonna have the good with the bad.
And that's another great point of like, you know, no offense to Disney or anything, but they've created this Disneyfied formula of like what they think is gonna sell, but they're taking things that people love and they're not making
accurate
or as quality. Like, you know, with them buying Marvel, all of a sudden the whole Marvel like movie just kind of got a little cheesier to me. Like, they just started using the same formula every single time they put out a Marvel movie, as where like, you know, Logan was awesome.
So
you know,
I love
because
Logan.
If that movie would have been PG-13, now granted that's not Marvel, that's it is Marvel, but it's Sony that's making it, not Marvel.
I thought it was Fox.
Fox, yeah, my bad. Fox. Sony is SpiderMan, and then they're working on the thing.
Yeah.
But, right. But so it just had a completely different feel. They did a good job of like, because that needed to be dark, and it like, you know, just had elements of like talking about humanity and whatnot, and just, it was a good way to, spoiler alert, don't keep listening if you haven't seen the movie. But, you know, Hugh Jackman just being like, okay, it's time for me to be done with it. Like, let's move on to like another character. Like, let's put this to rest. Like, I think I've done a really good job. Same with good Lord, I can't remember his name. Professor X. Good God.
The young one or the old one?
No, the old, not good Lord, I can't think of people's names now. Captain Picard from Star Trek.
They know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but he basically, they were like saying like it's time to move on from this. Did a really good job. I think that they should start taking more risks. You know, I think it shouldn't be all about the top dollar. I think that you should stay true to certain things of like it being art. I think
it
it's
makes
okay
it more epic.
Yes, I
instead
agree.
of more acceptable to the
Absolutely
massive
family
audience.
right, family friendly. But not everything needs to be family friendly, and like, not to go off in a tangent, but everything seems to be so PC. Like, you know what? The real world is not PC. Mm-hmm. So stop trying to pretend to be so fucking PC because, you know, people say mean things that are going to hurt your feelings. They're going to do really fucked up things like bomb places and shit like that. Mm-hmm. Stop being so goddamn fucking PC, okay? Yeah. Yes, you should not go out of your way to hurt other people's feelings and this, that, the other. But it doesn't mean that you have to cater and tiptoe around other people's, you know, their belief systems, but not stay true to your own belief systems. That does not make sense. Yeah. So just stop fucking catering to that shit. Tangents ended.
That's why if you go from watching those kind of movies, like Marvel, Disney movies, and then you go see like a Quentin Tarantino movie,
right?
It's so much more epic. Like they're
absolutely
like you didn't expect twist endings, like
for sure. I mean, I really liked Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
wasn't really a fan of Hateful Eight. Like Django Unchained, but I'm trying to think. Honestly, I think the only one I didn't really care for was Hateful Eight. It just was really long and really repetitive, and just like it just didn't do it for me. Mm. But I like most Quentin Tarantino movies, you know. So. Yeah. I just didn't really care for Hateful Eight, though. A little slow.
I liked it. I liked the surprise. I liked how slow it was leading up to the, like, action part, you know? It was kind of like the build-up.
Yeah, it was all about character development and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That it just didn't do it for me. But again, to each your own, difference of opinions.
Yeah, yeah. So, what... Blank space. Blank space. There's every like 5 episodes this happens.
I mean, I just think that, like, okay, let's just take an example, like, to kind of reiterate what we're talking about. This new movie that's coming out with Dwayne Johnson. I love Dwayne Johnson movies. Like, that's one of the actors that I can deal with, like, you know, a less than fascinating plot, or, you know, it mostly being about the action. Skyscraper. Saw the trailer for that during the Super Bowl. Literally thought
what was that? Who's in that?
Dwayne Johnson.
I don't think I've heard that.
It's like a Die Hard like ripoff. Like he's like trying to save his family, and they're all up in.
I did see
like
that.
A tall skyscraper, and he's got. I guess he had an accident when he was like an army vet or something like that, and he lost a leg, and he's got this thing. I thought it was a joke ad at first. Like, I thought it was like a, haha, got you Super Bowl ad.
Yeah.
And then I realized it was a real movie. And I'm like, okay, come on, man. Like, we're getting to the point where, like, one of the best action, like, heroes is literally getting to the point where he's just kind of like, I'm going to do whatever, you know?
Yeah.
You know? Like, hey, get your money how you can get it or whatever. But I feel like he can be selective enough to not be like, you know what? Now maybe he read the script and it was like phenomenal, and then they just like tore
he could have been skeptical at first too, and then read the script.
Maybe we watched this movie and it's like one of those ones where you're just like, good God, this is gonna suck, and you're like, it wasn't that bad. You know, maybe it's a guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah,
you see it, but you don't tell anybody you saw it.
It's kind of funny how like you'll go and see, even if going in you know it's gonna be a crappy movie, if you're a fan of someone like Dwayne Johnson,
right?
Like I'm a fan of Leonardo DiCaprio or Denzel Washington,
right?
Like you'll still go and see it, even going in, you know it's going to be a crappy movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I again, I think that kind of plays into what we're talking about. When you lower your expectations, it makes movies more tolerable. It's when that hype just builds and builds and builds, and your expectations rise, and you're like, this is going to be a great movie.
This is the shit.
Yes, and then you see it, and you're like, what were you talking about? You just wasted 2.5 hours of my life, and I can't get it back. At least I could have watched it at home when it came out on the Redbox, you know, or streamed it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
But I think that's the difference between me and you, because you'll be pissed if your time gets wasted.
Yes.
I can sit there and watch any movie.
Right.
As long as I'm not doing something else, I'll sit there and watch it.
Yeah, like we Train and I just watched this movie Colossal with Anne Hathaway. And it's again, spoiler alert if you don't want to know about, I'm about to tell you about the plot of the movie. But essentially she's this person who a monster appears in Seoul, Korea, and she finds out that she's the monster. So when she gets drunk, she does shit, and it like destroys parts of Seoul.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I was like, I can't figure out if this is like, you know, symbolism for like what alcoholism does in the real world, or like they're trying to be like creative, like sci-fi, like why is this something different, or a little mixture of both. Like, to me it was just symbolic of like, you make terrible choices when you've been drinking usually, and you know your choices have repercussions essentially, and you can really affect people to a very extreme detriment. That's what I got from it. But it's also a story of redemption where she kind of like figures it out, and there's somebody that's actually worse than him or her, where he controls a robot. He like, you come to find out like the same thing happened to them when they were little, and he's a robot, but he's just like, he's a worse alcoholic than she is, and like doesn't want to, you know, change it. Yeah, exactly. But like, so it's like kind of shows that, you know, maybe you should step back, and when you see something from the outside looking in, it makes it easier to start changing yourself internally, essentially, when you see it from, you know, again, the outside instead of inside, because people tend to overlook their own flaws and don't want to work towards bettering themselves. But
yeah, it's gonna hide from that.
Yeah, I mean, like, talking about it, I'm like, that's actually kind of a cool concept. But both of us were just like, good lord, like, what are we doing? But then, I mean, again, like, I think that it was one of those things that was a cool concept executed poorly.
Yeah,
I think there are a lot of movies like that these days. Like, the concept was cool, but they just didn't do it well.
I have this personal pet peeve movie.
What is
that
it?
I want to bring up to you.
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen it. It's King Arthur, Charlie Hunnam.
Oh my god.
You hated it.
Yes. I hated it.
Okay, tell me why.
So, I read up on that because I could not figure out for the life of me how this movie got made when I watched it. Okay. I was like, this has glimpses of being a really good movie, but there's so many flaws in it. Like, it jumped around in the plot, like, it didn't explain things, like, it just seemed like it was really poorly written. And that's weird because it's from Guy Ritchie, who wrote and directed it. Well, come to find out, it was like a 4-hour movie, and instead of essentially instead of letting him split it into like 2 parts, he had to condense it down into like a 2-hour movie. So there's just tons of footage that got
information
that got like got left on the cutting room floor. So when they edited it down, that's why a whole bunch of it didn't make sense. Not only that, Charlie Hunnam to me is not a very good actor. I think he was really good as Jax Teller, but the fact that he acts, he's almost typecast to me now. Like, I see Jax Teller in everything he acts in.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with being in a TV series. People see you as that character.
For sure. And going back, I honestly, Sons of Anarchy was really good when I watched it originally. But the more I talked about it and the more I thought about it, I'm just like, it's not as creative as I originally thought it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad show by any means. It's a good show. But I don't think it's as, like, crazy deep as, you know, I originally once thought it. I mean, like, again, your brother kind of ruined it for me. So he just kept talking about it and overhyping it. And, so he took a good thing and he destroyed it for me. So.
Okay, but about King Arthur, I liked the movie.
Really?
Yeah, I liked it.
Wow, okay.
And then I read up on it because I got all stoked because I read before I saw it that it was going to be like an extended universe like Marvel or DC. Okay. So I was like, okay, now I'm going to watch the movie and see what happens. So all that happened, and I could follow. I know what you're talking about, how some parts were hard to follow.
Right.
But I kind of just ignored that and continued with the movie, and I liked how it ended. I liked they alluded to more places and stories that could happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
so I got so excited about this, and then I read up on how critics hated the movie.
Yeah, everybody hated the movie.
Everybody hated the movie. and they canceled all of the following things
because it was a tremendous flop. Like one of the biggest flop. Like, you know, Disney aside, that's one of the biggest flops like of recent times. Yeah. Like I think it cost like $175 million or something like that, and it only made like 13.5 its opening weekend domestically. Like that's poo numbers, just straight terrible. You know. So, but again, like here's the thing. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. Yeah. Some people are gonna like movies that other people don't like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think people would be doing other people it'd be nice to just, unless somebody directly asks you for your opinion, I think that it's better to just be like, hey, just go see the movie
check
for
it out for yourself.
Because if you're feeding into the hype frenzy of these poo trash movies that I just don't know why they're so successful, you know. Again, but I'm a harsh critic, you know. But I would rather maybe I'd actually find some of these more stomachable. Like I just made up a word, and I'm pretty sure that's not.
I understood you.
Yeah, but like you'd be able to stomach it a little bit better if you know, if it like I forget. This Is the End. Like that. Like everybody loved that movie. Yeah. Everybody loved it. I didn't, because everybody told me it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. They were laughing their asses off.
Yeah, that'd get annoying.
And so I go into it. I'm like, okay, this is funny, but like it's not as funny as like. Now maybe that's just me being a dick and just be like, I have to contradict everybody else's opinion. Maybe that is the case.
It could look that way.
Yeah, of course. But I still will go back to my original argument and say that I've just not lowered my standards when everybody else has lowered their standards and Hollywood's lowered their standards to make things more acceptable and entertaining. Because if you go through life just being like, this sucks, you're not going to enjoy anything.
Yeah.
But I still am able to find movies and TV shows that I enjoy that I think are actually decent quality things, so I'm not going to lower my standards for these other things. Does everything have to be a masterpiece? No, especially when it's a big budget thing.
Yeah.
But if you tell me it's the greatest thing since like freaking sliced bread, I'm going to be like, you're full of shit.
You were talking about Marvel earlier.
Yeah.
What do you think about Venom that's coming out?
I'm excited for that because
it's rated R, they're saying.
Yeah, and I haven't been disappointed in most of the things that Tom Hardy has done. He's a really exceptional actor, so I'm hoping they do.
He always brings something good to it.
Exactly. I'm hoping they do Venom justice, because Venom's like one of my favorite characters.
Oh, me too, yeah.
So, and it needs to be dark because, you know, he's like a torn anti-hero, essentially, you know. But I don't know which storyline they're going to go with. I'm assuming it's like an origin story.
Well, I was reading on it, and supposedly something leaked about how it was going to be on the Amazing Spider-Man timeline.
Okay.
With, I think it's Andrew Garfield.
He's not Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah, I know.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not sure I believe that.
Yeah, because I thought Marvel and Sony had an agreement that Marvel was getting it back. That's why they switched it to Tom Holland, and he was able to be in part of the Avengers and stuff like that. But maybe they still have it to where both exist.
Okay, so what happened was they had this interview with the head of Sony or their projects or whatever, and she was like, and she was sitting next to the MCU director. So she was like saying, you should you'll see that they're all connected, and that Venom won't affect the MCU, but maybe the MCU might affect Venom, and it's still connected to Spider-Man. And in the meanwhile, while she's saying all this, the dude next to her is like, shut up, like looking like that they're not supposed to know this. This too soon. Shut the fuck up. So it's like, and then she came back with a statement that said, no, they are not connected at all. So it's
interesting.
So it's kind of like, well, did her saying that affect anything, or?
Well, because I thought that I thought that they agreed. Like basically, Andrew Garfield was like done being Spider-Man. Like,
he talked trash about the role, and I think they fired him, shit canned him, or something.
I mean, both of those movies were not good.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of them either.
I personally, I have not. I mean, I didn't like the one with the new kid. Tom, is it Tom Holland?
Tom Holland.
Yeah, wasn't a fan. Too goofy.
Was it overhyped?
I didn't. Okay, let me just say this. I don't think it was overhyped. Partially overhyped, I just, it just seemed thrown together. Like it just seemed super rushed. It just didn't seem like well thought out. It was because we've seen so many like movies with Spider-Man, even though it's kind of an origin story, kind of. I guess it's not even really an origin story because they just assumed you. I'm sorry, that's what I meant. That they just assumed you knew everything about him. But what if you don't? Like, what if you don't fuck with Spider-Man? Like, what if I mean, there's kids that probably that might be their first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
It jumped in because it fell in line with what was going on with the Avengers and stuff.
I disagree. I think that origin story has been done so many times.
That's why
That's why they took it in a different direction.
I'm not saying they should have done the own origin story, but they also just made it seem like you automatically knew everything.
To know,
Right, exactly. Like, no flashback scenes or anything like that. They just jumped right into it. So, but my biggest problem was that they, it just seemed like it's just weird. Like they jumped in and then like, he had that job like mining whatever the hell they were from the alien spacecraft, and then they create weapons, and it's just like no background story.
The destruction committee or something like that. Yeah.
On the what was his name? The Falcon.
No, it's the
Vulture.
Yeah.
Dude, like my brain is not working today, man. The Vulture, yeah. I mean, from what I remember, I think in the comics he was like actually like part Vulture, like he was like a mutant, not.
It's something that's a suit he made, like mutated him, kind of a little bit, yeah.
Versus like it just him being in this thing.
But I think in later comics they redid that to
make it more modern.
Yeah.
Okay, like cybertech fucking equipment and shit, whatever.
What if I had one complaint? I didn't like what they did with Shocker. How it was like they had this white guy playing Shocker, and then Vulture killed him, and then gave him to this other guy, and then like how Shocker can just be passed around to.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember that character from the comics, to be completely honest with you.
What about like games or fucking?
I never played Spider-Man's
cartoons.
Spider-Man's like one of my least favorite comic book heroes, man.
What?
Yeah.
Explain. I need an explanation.
He just didn't do it for me, man. Like I did enjoy the ones with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
I liked those.
Well, those were like the first good superhero movie.
Yeah. I mean, like it kind of started the whole. Well, I mean that and X-Men, but you know, this trend in recent history, but. Just spider webs, cool. You fly through the air. Just,
not impressed.
No.
If Spider-Man swung in there, you'd be like, nah, you're good.
I got into a huge argument about who was cooler, like Batman or Spider-Man.
Okay.
And then I was like, first off, like, why are we even comparing Batman to Spider-Man? Because that doesn't even fucking make sense for starters.
It'd make more sense like Iron Man, Batman.
Yeah. Well, really, like, why would you argue for a Marvel versus a DC character, for starters?
For me, that's kind of stretching out there. I don't like to do that.
But, like, I like Batman because he's a regular dude with a shit ton of fucking money. He's really intelligent, and he creates shit that can destroy pretty much any of these people with natural, like, super... Like, he wasn't born with anything special other than his brain.
Yeah.
And money, of course. But... money buys a lot of things, but he uses this intelligence and his money to create weapons, specialized weapons and stuff, to be able to combat anything that could come to this universe and fuck everybody up. And like even just people that are his friends, like Superman, he creates things that can even fuck up Superman just in case he gets out.
Way overpowered.
Exactly.
Character.
So then you have Spider-Man who gets bit by a radioactive spider and just like, I got webs now, bop bop bop, like. I don't know. I just fuck with people who have like natural abilities versus like people who are like just mutated and shit like that. Doesn't mean they're less like they're not cool. Absolutely. I just think it's cooler for somebody that just like you. I'm gonna use my brain.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know. I know like Batman's like the world's best detective. Like that's his title, and it's just to me he feels like if I get too much Batman, Like, if I see him too often, he just becomes like this glorified night cop. I start overthinking it. Like,
okay, you don't think that that's happened with Spider-Man? Like, Spider-Man's been done so many. Now, granted, they're probably on the same level of being overly done.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know. Like, Batman just to me doesn't get old, except for Ben Affleck. He's pretty much ruined Batman for me. But you know, Spider-Man just like hasn't been good since Tobey Maguire. Like, I didn't think Andrew Garfield movies were good. I don't think Tom Holland's good as in like. He's just kind of a goofy character that just like has, I don't know, like I just don't care for him. You know, as for Batman, I like his internal conflict. I like that his like really horrible backstory and stuff. Like he just he deals with real life problems and he turns his like, you know, tragedies into things to help other people and just like rides that fine line of like almost being a villain himself. You know, but he just like. Almost like the force of like the light and the dark side, you know, like you kind of like ride that fine line, but you got to go like to the good side, not the bad side, you know?
Yeah. Which
again is like why the Joker, his relationship with the Joker is like fucking crazy.
Yeah, that relationship is off the charts for sure.
Right, like I truly don't think that Batman would ever like kill the Joker. Like I don't think he can kill the Joker because
not on purpose.
Right. It'd just be like killing himself essentially, you know. So, but I don't know. Spider-Man didn't do it for me, man. Don't really care for it.
That's disappointing to me. I thought everybody liked Spider-Man. Who doesn't like Spider-Man?
And apparently this guy. You can't see him pointing at myself.
I think that'll be it for today on Updata.
Cool.
Make sure you subscribe, like the video, comment if you have any questions or want us to do any.
Yeah, shit. Let's get these likes up, yo.
Yeah, get these likes up for Dirk Dillionare's first episode. I think that'll be it. Thank you. Updata signing off.